All right, Eric, Coach, let's start with you. The Bears clearly gave up something to draft Trubisky. To you, is it a mistake?
No. If Chicago felt like Trubisky was their guy, then you go get that guy. And we talked about this with Cleveland. If Cleveland felt Trubisky was their guy, they should have taken him first overall.
But it doesn't feel like they did.
I disagree. I think that they felt like he was their guy, but they could get him 3 or 4 picks later. They were trying to have both Myles Garrett and Trubisky. And the issue with that is you don't know what the other teams are going to do. You can't guarantee what they're going to do, but Chicago wasn't going to leave it a chance, so they give up what they need to give up to go get Trubisky.
I mean, I look at this, and I think to myself, Chicago has not done the quarterback position right, and they have a defensive head coach, John Fox. I don't know cars, so I lean on a mechanic. He knows cars. San Francisco's got Kyle Shanahan. They desperately need a quarterback. They passed on all these guys. Say what you want about Hugh Jackson. He didn't win last year, but he knows quarterbacks, and he passed on him. 2 franchises desperate for a quarterback had him. Didn't have to give up anything. Had him. They passed. The defensive-minded Bears took him. I got to tell you, you give me their history, you give me a defensive coach, you give me what I know about Trubisky, it seems like a lot.
And Eric, I understand why you like the deal, but this is a disaster. I mean, I don't understand how you can bid against yourselves. Yahoo was reporting that the Bears were bidding against themselves. The 49ers played this perfectly. John Lynch is a rookie GM, but he worked out Trubisky. They put out all the vibes that they liked him. They got 4 picks for the Bears to move up 1 spot. This is highway robbery at the top of the draft, an amazing deal. Think about it if you're John Fox, okay? You guys just signed Mike Glennon, $18 million guaranteed. He's a 62-year-old coach coming off a 3-win season, and now you're bringing in Mitch Trubisky? What's the game plan here? What's the window to compete in a division with Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford? There's just no hope in Chicago.
Here's what I really respect about this. Chicago had a quarterback problem, and they aggressively tried to solve that problem. They went and got one, and they drafted one, okay? And look, Cleveland has a quarterback problem.
Yes.
And they thought that they were going to get what they felt was the best defensive player and their quarterback. And the reason it worked for Chicago is because they didn't say anything about it. They didn't give out information, so Cleveland thought they could still get that guy, and then Chicago jumped him.
Right, and I would stay away from saying it's a disaster because in the room, Eric, you know, you might have more love or infatuation for a player than others do, regardless of what they think about him. If you love him and his skill set fits you, you like his temperament, then the picks are worth it. Like if this is your guy, Colin, then it justifies the picks because this is what it takes to get your guy. Now, is it a risk? Yes, but a calculated risk. Now, I didn't think Cleveland made a mistake in not getting him because they didn't draft a quarterback. They still need one, and they could have made a mistake if he was still around. So for me, I wasn't sold on the first 2 quarterbacks. I would have went with Deshaun Watson. So I'm not going to say it's a disaster yet because there still needs to be some time. But the overall job security and John Fox, I don't think John will be there to see his best football.
I mean, we have stories today that Cleveland is interested in A.J. McCarron. Now, we know Garoppolo. So let's just take McCarron. Because if you give me Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, and McCarron, and we've heard stories that Cleveland kind of has talked about all of them, McCarron's probably the least proven, in my opinion. If you think McCarron is more valuable than the current crop of quarterbacks, and we've seen him play in this league, it tells me that Cleveland didn't like these quarterbacks.
Well, maybe they didn't like it, but they could get McCarron today for a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Like, that could still happen in today's draft. Like, they could still get a quarterback today.
They've got a ton of draft picks.
But they're talking about this because they didn't get the guy they wanted. Look, there was so much information coming out there on their interest in Trubisky. It's hard for me to believe that it was all made up, okay? And look, I get your analogy, too, about mechanics, and there's some bad mechanics. And there's some mechanics that miss problems in your car. And there's a lot of good coaches that missed on Tom Brady. There's a lot of good quarterback evaluators that missed on Dak Prescott. It happens. So we can't say this is a disaster. We can't say that this is a failure until about 2 or 3 years from now when we see what these guys do.
Let me just one last point, Eric, on why I think it is a disaster. Again, you're giving up 3 picks to move up 1 spot. for a guy who has 2 wins in his 13 starts, against ranked teams. As Chris said, Deshaun Watson, he beat 3 playoff. He has 3 college football playoff.
We don't know if college translates to pro. We never know that. But it is giving up in the NBA. When Carmelo goes Denver to the Knicks, he forced the trade. Knicks had to give up 3 players to get him had they waited. It's never good to give up picks.
No one is good to give up picks if you hit on the guy that you took.
Yes.
When my first year or my second year in New York, we traded up with Carolina and we gave up a pick to take Darrelle Revis. It was worth it to give up that pick. I feel really good about that.